Meg Czapiewski with the Honorable Service Realty Group, here with your market report. And I'm going to share a few slides so that we can take a look at these charts together. And this, I know a lot of lines here, but I'm done a 10-year look because I just want to show you the inventory or the activity levels that we've seen, largely due to lack of inventory, has been pretty stable at a pretty crappy level since 2022, quite honestly. Even as far back as 2014, which was a rough year, we were getting better activity than we have been experiencing since the post-COVID, post-2021 surge. The slowness is not necessarily reflective of how long it takes to get a home sold. The days on market in all three counties that we're going to look at is still median days on market is still sitting under a week. But the activity levels have been pretty, the bell curve from 23 looks a whole lot like the bell curve that we've experienced to date in 24. And we're probably not going to see a big spike until we see those interest rates drop and then more people are comfortable coming on the market. And even then, some sellers may not be open to listing in the fall or the winter because they have heard that the spring is when you see the majority of your activity, which is pretty true, generally speaking. Let's take a look at pricing ratios because this is where we save the day. I'm going to show you something. This looks sort of stable, like, oh, geez, we're not really seeing a whole lot. Oh, let's switch this to pricing trends, and that will make more sense. But I want to show you the 10-year. So we do see appreciation year after year, but it was more like this, right? And on average in the United States, they see between 2 and 3% of an increase in price year over year. What we're experiencing here is significantly more. So look at some of these numbers that I'm picking up on. Plus 18, plus 13, plus 15%, plus 16%, plus 12%. There's a low number of plus 5, but it was in a peak month when we have a lot of stuff. And then here last June in Prince William, over 15% growth from this time last month. So definitely seeing a inflation in the sales prices of homes right now. And that's because of those tight inventory levels. I want to take a look at just detached and townhomes so that we can zoom in on the specific property types and get a better feel for where those prices are hovering. So in single family homes, $740,000 was the median sale price. And for a townhome, it was $540,000. And the growth on those was 9% and 13, almost 14% on the townhomes. So let's take a look at Fairfax County and see where they're sitting. We'll look again at market activity, new pendings, and just get a gist by looking at everything. Looking back at 10 years, their 2014 looked a lot like what we've been experiencing in 22 and forward. Zipping down to a, zooming into a 3-year for your pendings. Actually, it does look here like their market is a little bit more active this year than it was last year, but these are small margins. Like this is 7.7, almost 8%. That's great. The one before 2%, the one after that, even though it's a pretty high number of activity because it's a peak month, it's showing a drop year over year. But those numbers aren't really, you don't need to get hung up on those because the activity is pretty much like what we've experienced in the last year. Days on market, as I mentioned before, is under a week. Pricing trends, this is where we like to break out our specific home types. In Fairfax, it makes sense to look at the all types, because well, let's do it this way. We'll do the condos, because they do have quite a few condos to consider, whereas the other two counties, it's not a big portion of the inventory there. But let's just take a peek at the 10-year, because these trends are kind of fun to look at, and the same thing, right? The slope is like this, and then it goes like this. When we go back to a 3-year look, just to look at those numbers, we can zero in a little easier. Detached, 970,000. They had a real banner month last month of 1,030,000 as a median sales price in Fairfax County. That's like a wow. And that was a 16.6% increase. So it settled down a little bit in June, to be expected, but still solid number at 970K and over 8% as a year-over-year increase. In the attached townhomes, about the same amount of increase, with your median sales price at 650. And in condos, also about 8% increase, with a median sales price of 379. Alrighty, let's take a peek at Stafford, and we'll wrap this up. So market activity. Stafford is actually showing a little slower this year than last year. So I don't know if inventory is a little tighter, or if people who were moving south have now not been able to move south, or were planning to move south and had to put it on pause because they're now being expected to go back into their offices. So you're not really sure what the trends necessarily represent, but the activity has been a little lower here than it was in last year. So this is an exclusion. March was up 12%, but in the grand scheme of things, they had some really good numbers in April and May last year that are not holding true this year. So 3 months in a row of double-digit percentage decreases. And their 10-year, when we just look at the trend, it's actually a little bit better than 2014. This county got hit a little harder back in the day, but they also did not see like constant rises or in these earlier years. It wasn't until the COVID and interest rate decrease that Stafford really saw a big push. And I do think that a lot of that had to do with people just wanting to move out of the rat race, get more for their money, get a little less traffic, and be somewhere where they could still work, but just not have to go into the office, because remote work was pretty common back then. So let's look at the pricing trends, and we'll zoom back into a 3-year peak. They're doing the same thing though as the other ones, where they had some growth year over year, but not at the same pace as what we've experienced since. So clearly, inflation on home prices has taken a different trajectory since the 2020 timeframe. We look at detached and attached townhomes. We can zero in on those exact price points. They had a great May, by the way, with a almost 14% increase in the median sales price. And this past month in June, only 3%, but still it's up. And 565,000 is the median sales price, about 598 in last month. When you look at the townhomes, there's an 11% increase in townhomes, and the median sales price there is 433,000. So those are your numbers. What we're experiencing right now, if I look at neighborhood to neighborhood, what I absolutely see is that there are homes that fly off the market. They've been prepped properly, they've been priced properly, they've been marketed properly, and they are going in a week or less. But there are also, and in fact in Montclair, where, as many of you know, I track very closely, 50% of the listings are at or above 30 days. So I think when we look at July's numbers, we're going to see that median days on market really shifting. As we get into August, things traditionally pick up again. Kids go back to school early to mid-August, depending on the county, and then we start to see activity come back again. So here's to that, and also here's to, you know, the verbiage that we're hearing out of the Fed that we can expect an interest rate drop, and even just because of some of that language, we've already experienced a little trickle down in interest rates. So that is going to add some stimulus to the market. Just need to get the sellers to put their homes on the market because they've, as you can see, earned quite a bit of equity. If you have any question about the value of your specific home or what we can expect in your neighborhood now at the end of the year, in the spring, please contact me. I am more than happy to answer those questions for you. Have a good one. Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon.